Yeah, Jishnu.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So, Jishnu, can everybody hear us clear?
Yeah, we can clearly hear.
Excellent.
Hi,
So,
Jishnu. Hi.
uh,
Hi, Shrestha.
so we have a team of folks. Some of them are working in agency, and some of them are students, and some of them are just finishing up the UI design courses. Some of them are old students as well are there. And so, just to introduce, uh, Jishnu. So Jishnu, in fact, we met quite some time, 5 years back, right? Or 2017, 18,
17, 18, yeah,
17,
sometime.
18. And
Yeah.
this was in Bangalore actually. So where we had two-day session. You were there, right? Was it a 2 day session or 1 day session?
Yeah, I think it was a 2 or 3 day session. Yeah,
2 day
more, definitely
session,
more
right?
than 1 day.
Yeah. So we had a lunch together and all, and we had hands-on sessions.
And
We had. Right?
yeah, I mean, those days things were hands-on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had live workshops. We had. That's what I
Yeah.
said. And from there, actually, he's come a long way, and he's working now as a product designer. In fact, Jishnu, I want you to see. I have a lot of folks who are just learning UX, and some of them are seriously want to get into UX designer themselves. Some of them are learning so that they can apply it in the overall work of deliverables and then stuff also. So we have copywriters, we have UI designers, we have developers, we have students. So we have a creative director. A lot of folks are there. So and that way you're going to inspire many people in moving from earlier thought process to see what are the possibilities that's there. So you are really accomplished certain things actually, which many people are working towards, right? So from that perspective, I want you to share your journey of where you started and how you moved on and how you become a UX designer. And also, if we can touch upon what is that product designing, what you do, and in fact, I want you to also share something about your product which you launched also, and particularly the digital nomad. I told you are a digital nomad. You said, "Oh, really? Okay." So, what is that? Your lifestyle you are enjoying now. Please go ahead.
Cool. I think we'll go by one. We can start with how I got into design.
Right.
So do you all want like the long story or the short story?
Yeah, we
So I
have.
think long story will take like at least 7 minutes.
We have a separate session. We'll have only for Jishnu where we want to hear the longer one. But yeah, 7 minutes
Cool,
we
cool.
have. We have 7 minutes.
Okay.
For this
So
question, yeah.
essentially, essentially it all started back in college, right? Like most of us. And I did engineering, from NIT Trichy, and it was civil. So how it all began was, I think back then I had no idea what design was, not even graphic design. But then, in my first year, I saw this one poster on my hostel wall, and I wondered, what, how did, someone create this? Because, drawing on paper itself was so hard. How could, someone create, this beautiful thing and then print it out, etc. So it started as a curiosity. I kind of figured out someone used Photoshop, and that's how they created it. So during vacations, I went ahead and found some YouTube videos on how to get started with Photoshop. And yeah, that's how it started with me, digitally designing on Photoshop, Illustrator. And slowly I got into like the college design teams, and then I was also working for a magazine, creating their cover pages and all that. Uh, and I think after a certain point of time, I was sure I didn't want to do engineering, but I also didn't know, what the opportunities were for design. Right now, I was just doing it because, I was just passionate and I really like designing. So the next option that you had at that time, if you're not doing engineering, then you do management, right? You do MBA. So I didn't do MBA, but I was like, okay, maybe I'll try for a management company. So I didn't sit for any of the engineering company, but I sat for one of the management company, and then I got placed in Chennai. And so I was in Chennai working as a business development executive. And I did that for 5 months and I totally hated it. And somehow I came across this book that most of you might be aware of right now, Design of Everyday Things. I forgot how I came across it, but I read that, and that's when I came across, product design and UI UX.
That's
And
Don Norman's, right?
yeah, Don
All right.
Norman.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I realized, design is more than just the visual aspect. There's a lot of, science and psychology behind it. There's another form of design altogether.
Mhm.
And after I read the book, I was like, this is something that I would love to do. But I think at that point, product design wasn't that, popular in India. And
Even
I
today,
knew,
that's the case, right?
yeah, yeah, it's still not recognized as a job by our parents.
True, true. Mhm.
So I was like, okay, I wouldn't get a job without any experience because, like I said, the opportunities were less, and the companies that were taking, like product companies, they wanted, some sort of experience. So I thought I'll start with, what I knew, that was graphic designing. And that's when I started applying to, startups in Bangalore. And one startup just thought they would take a gamble on me, like from my college experience, and then I started working with them as a graphic designer. There I got to do a lot of stuff, like I also got to do web designing, etc.
Mhm.
And yeah, sometime over there itself uh, is when I came across Nanda's thing about UX and product design. And at that time, I was in this spree of reading books and attending workshops. And that's when I met Nanda, and we had this course, and that was very insightful. uh yeah, I think fast forward after a year, I was like, okay, I think now it's time to apply for a product design role or a UX role.
Mhm.
But I thought I'll start with an internship. That's like the best way to kind of get into a company without so
Without
product
pressure.
design or UX experience, right? I just read a lot of books about psychology,
Ah.
read a lot of books about design. So it's more like reading knowledge.
Mhm.
So I started applying for internships, and I think what I googled was top design agencies in India, like product design.
Mhm.
And what came up was Lollipop, and then I heard of Screen Root. And
Mhm.
I applied to both, but I decided to go with Screen Root because it was in Goa.
How do you spell it? Screen?
Screen Root, Screen
ROUTE.
Root.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
Root, like tree roots.
Oh, okay, okay. Screen root. Got it, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
So yeah, so I headed to Goa, joined the company, and I had
Mhm.
been with them for like 2 years. So
Mhm.
over there, I did get exposed to a lot of companies. So I worked with the banking sector, like ICICI, HDFC, like the iMobile app you see. I think I've designed three-fourth of it.
Wow.
If you're
Hmm.
using ICICI, so that was designed by that agency back then.
Mhm. Mhm.
But they've done a very bad job of implementing it because their developers did it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so banking, then I worked at certain healthcare industry, worked with educational sectors, etc. So yeah, worked with a lot of clients. I think that was a very good way of starting my career. Then after 2 years, I was like, okay, now I want to get more autonomy in the way I design products, because if you have worked in an agency, basically you get to the breadth of things, but you don't get to the depth, right? You'll be working with three clients at a time, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're
True.
designing for like three clients in one go, and once you're done with the design, you give it to a client, and that's it.
Yeah, you
You
don't
don't hear back
really
from them.
get to see the final output, whether it's
Yeah, the final output might come in like next 6-7 months after it's developed.
yeah, and you wouldn't have any idea about it, and you don't know
Yeah,
whether it's success or failure or
yeah,
you can be
exactly.
improve it. No feedback, nothing.
No feedback, you don't measure impact, you don't know what's
Yeah.
happening.
True.
But yeah. And that's when I started applying to a few product design companies. And one of my favorite startups at that time was Small Case. I don't know if any of you invest with Small Cases, like a very great product and really good company.
Mhm.
And interestingly, I did design uh, for them, through in the agency also, like one page,
Mhm.
because they had a landing page for on Edelweiss, and we were working for Edelweiss, and I happened to like design that page.
Okay. So this
And
is investment companies, small cases, is it?
yeah, it's investment company. You can basically invest in Small Cases.
Mhm.
And yeah, so Small Case had another sister company, or like a company they were incubating, called
Mhm.
Stickertape.
Okay.
So they were kind of hiring for that, and that's how I got into Stickertape, and that's where I currently work. So it's been like close to 3 years at Stickertape.
Yes. Okay.
Uh, so currently I'm a product designer working for Stickertape, and that's
Okay.
the
So
short journey. Yeah.
now from that agency thing where you need have on multiple projects, now you're throughout working in one particular product, improvising it, and you work with
Yeah.
many departments to
Yeah.
ensure.
So right now, when you're working with a product company, you get to deal with product managers, you get to
Mhm,
deal with developers,
mhm,
you get to deal with, marketing people, content writers, copywriters.
mhm, mhm,
So in a way, you're like, a small bridge between, all of them. And so you constantly have to, communicate with each and one of them to ensure that, uh, everything is fine on the product side, and then finally launch it, then see how, people are using it, and then make updates to it. So it's
mhm.
fun.
Okay. So do you also work on the analytics part after to see how many people came in and how many people responded, how many people dropped off? Do you check that as
Yeah,
well
so
as part of your?
we do, but we don't specifically check. There are, other people, but you would have to go and tell them you need this data, you want to check this, and they
Mhm,
would kind of, give that to you. They would do the analytics bit on software like Amplitude, and they would, give you the data, and then you can take a look
mhm.
at what's happening.
Can you briefly say what is sticker tape that your company you're working? What kind of product is that?
So they basically create tools to analyze, markets and stocks.
Mhm,
Basically, they kind of bring let's say, what Medium did with content.
mhm,
They're trying to do it with, let's say, stock, mutual funds,
mhm.
all the other asset classes. They give a structure to it so that, whenever you come to a page, everything is more intuitive, and you know where to look for what, right? You don't have
Oh,
to
okay.
change your mental patterns if you're looking at a mutual fund or a stock. So they try to, make the analysis part a little bit more simplified for, like, let's say, a common investor like you and me.
Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. So
So you can check it
it's
out.
kind of a dashboard kind of a thing where it shows
Yeah,
clearly.
you can,
Is
they have a web app also. I can, leave a
yeah,
link
you can
down
share
here.
the yeah, you can do that so that we can take a look at that also. Excellent. Wonderful. So what about so now you said last month you were in Nepal, and then you say
Yeah.
you are in Kerala. Do you really work or you only travel now, Jishnu?
No, I do work. I think so. Very interestingly, when I joined Tickertape, uh, like when I just joined the company, that is when the first wave of COVID hit and everything became remote.
Yeah.
So I've never gone to the office, Tickertape's office, except for once or twice.
Okay.
And ever since COVID, has been all remote. And I think since last year, I've been doing a lot more traveling.
Mhm.
So now that I could work from anywhere, I'm like, why sit in
Mhm.
Bangalore, pay rent, and, stay at
Mhm.
one place? So my home base is Kerala, where I can live for free. But then I, keep moving around for a month to another
Okay.
state and, stay there, work from
Okay.
there, try the food around. So I'm like a big foodie. So
Wow.
I think my purpose to travel is to eat, maybe.
That's
Yeah, so I
amazing.
think
Mm.
yeah, being like the remote culture, definitely helps with that.
Mm.
And
Okay.
COVID has kind of helped with, kind
True.
of normalizing that culture.
That's an
So
amazing
yeah.
journey, So it's kind of uh, everybody's dream transition from one to another, from studying in engineering to designing self-learning to an internship program to a UI design to a UX designer, product design.
Yeah.
That's an amazing journey. Everybody would love to have, be in your shoes. But tell me,
Yeah.
actually, is it something everybody can achieve, or what tips would you suggest? Three things what you would suggest if anybody wants to get into UX design or to live a life what you're having, having fun at the same time, able to do the work aspect. So, what would you suggest for people to move?
I think, things are a little bit more easier in terms of access to knowledge, right? Like back then, you couldn't find a lot of courses or people to talk with to kind of understand or see what their experience is like, right? You would have to, it's more like trial and error. If it works, it works. You couldn't really much talk to a lot of people, but I think right now it's a little more easier. But I think few tips I can give is like, one is read a lot, especially about design and psychology. Not the fictitious book. I'm talking of all these self-help kind of books. So even if you don't like reading, like if you're someone like me, I don't like reading by default. I have to force myself. So a hack that I do is I read in between, like, let's say if I'm going out for a walk, I would maybe listen to an audiobook, or you
Can you
could even
name a
do it.
couple of audiobooks which you say, as a self-help book will be useful?
Uh, I mean, almost every book is an audiobook. It depends on your preference. Like, a few books I would recommend is, I don't know if you heard of Evil by Design.
Mm-hmm.
It basically talks about all the dark patterns of
Mm-hmm.
the design world, how these companies use these unethical patterns to, but not to grab people's attention and
Mm-hmm.
their
Mm-hmm.
time.
Okay.
So it's good
Okay.
to know
Okay.
what these dark patterns are. You may or may not
Uh-huh.
apply it while you create products, but
Okay.
yeah, it's up to you.
Okay.
Then if you really want to understand how like the human mind works, etc., I think a really good book. It's a long read, but it's uh, like a very good book. So it's called Thinking Fast and Slow.
Thinking fast and slow.
Yeah, it talks about how we make the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, be it, let's say, working out or work or leisure, etc.
Is this
How.
again audiobook?
Yeah, there's an audiobook for it, so you can
Okay.
check it out. So I keep switching between real books and audiobooks.
Oh,
So
really? Okay. Okay. You do that both. Okay.
uh,
That's nice.
then
So,
another book, and
mhm,
obviously Design of Everyday Things is like a
mhm.
must read. I
Okay.
think that should be the first book that you read
Okay.
if you're trying, planning to get into the field of design in general, not product design or UI UX, but
Right.
the
Right. Mm.
field
Yeah.
of design.
Field of design. It's in. Right. Right. Right.
So yeah,
Excellent.
so these would be some books.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say just find like 10 minutes. Maybe if you're it might be the time you go to the washroom.
Mm-hmm.
Just read like few pages.
Mm-hmm.
End of the month or 2 months, you'll find yourself finishing a book and a little bit more smarter.
Excellent. Mm.
Then I would say
So that's
be
one suggestion.
curious. Yeah, one
Reading is
suggestion is
one
read.
thing. Yeah. Read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say be curious, constantly observe and question the world around you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Try to find bad experience around you. So one thing you would realize after reading the book Design of Everyday Things is, if you can't figure out how to use a product or anything, right, it's not
Mm-hmm.
you, it's just
Mm-hmm.
bad design.
Yeah.
I think general conception, when let's say our parents cannot use a smartphone, etc., it's that they don't know how to use it. But then if someone had designed it well so that even older people could use it, then they would be able to use it, right? So
True.
first thing
True.
is, it's never your fault. It's always bad design if you can't figure things out.
Yeah.
So you kind
Yeah.
of, try to find these in the real world, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe just imagine how would you design it better, right? I think that
Right.
really helps and is fun. And like, I think an example I can give you is, let's say you go to a public restroom,
Mm-hmm.
you look at the toilet. Now, why do they
Mm-hmm.
have two flushes, like two buttons to flush?
Mm-hmm.
Should something as simple as flushing, why give the user a choice between whether I should press a big button or small
A
button?
small
Like,
button.
what does it mean?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
these kind of small things, right? Or let's say, sometimes the tap, you're not sure which is a hot water, which is a cold water. How do you design a better tap in your head?
True. True.
So it need not, be restricted to the digital realm.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
uh, everything around you is a side product of design. Even the place that you're living in, the table that you sit
Yeah.
to work,
Yeah.
this chair
Mm.
is designed well so that it supports your back, etc.
True. True. True.
So yeah, so just observe the world, be curious.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious mind.
Then
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
Makes sense.
then I think what has helped me a lot is, so you read a lot, it's
Mm-hmm.
fine, but you would realize that you forget what you read after a week or two,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So the best way to kind of solidify all this understanding is to teach others.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
it need not be like a class, etc. what you can do is maybe just write about it. Let's say you
Mhm.
read a book, you read two books, now you find some connection between them. So maybe, write about that connection and just publish it, put it out there.
Yeah,
So
post
that in
as a
the
post on
process,
LinkedIn, somewhere you post it, you can share your
yeah,
knowledge.
Medium,
Yeah,
I think
anywhere.
Medium
Medium
has
is
kind
one.
of
Okay, yeah, yeah, Medium has.
democratized, writing a lot. So just put
Yeah.
it out there, for the world to see. It'll
Right.
also build,
Okay.
your ability to write better and also increase your understanding because you're going to now research it a little bit more deeper because, you need to write this article.
So when you share that, actually, even others will know the knowledge level what you have, and
Yeah.
even it's kind of a
So
your own building your own brand as well, your self brand as
exactly.
well.
So now, it would help you, especially when you apply to a job and they know that you write about design and you have these thoughts out there. It could, add a little bit more value than,
Mm.
let's say, someone who does not,
Yeah, yeah,
write about
yeah,
design or
yeah,
don't have anything out there. So it's a good way to build, like you said, your brand.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So one is read and be curious. Third one is teach others and share the knowledge what you learn. That's essential.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Sure. So that in
And
fact, go ahead.
yeah, I think I could give you a bonus point because this was a huge
Huh?
issue when I started designing.
Oh, oh, oh.
Basically, so when you design for digital screens,
Mhm,
when you start out, you're not really sure what is the
mhm.
ideal size for, let's say, a button and input box, how much information can fit onto a screen.
Yeah, yeah.
So so everyone has a different idea of, what a good spacing is, right? Especially when
Mm-hmm.
you start as a designer, that idea is very off. It's
Mm-hmm.
very skewed, like everything is crunched, everything looks bad.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
one good way to improve that is, I would say, just take your favorite app, take a screenshot, put it on Figma or any of Sketch or whatever,
Yeah.
and try to recreate it, right? The exact same, just
Right, right,
copy
right.
paste, like recreate exactly what's there. So
Hmm.
that would, kind of give you a sense of, what is
Proportions,
the right size, yeah, the
right size,
proportions.
right?
And
Yeah.
just doing that for like, about a month or two, you would see like a huge,
That's an amazing tip.
increase in your like
Yeah.
UI aesthetics. This is purely UI, nothing to do with UX.
Right, right, right. That's a very useful one. The reason is that, right? Even today, what happens is that what I found in the projects, what I work, Vishnu, is that people start doing the UI, and then when they jump to do tube size, right?
Yeah,
Mostly they what they do is that they go by basic the grid part of it, and they think
yeah,
about iPhone sizes available and stuff, but they miss out on
exactly.
actually the actual proportions, how people are going to use it, and what majority of the people are going to use it particularly.
Yeah,
They design for iPhones, they design for the grid and everything they think about, but finally, when how it is going to be seen is something which they don't really care about.
yeah, that's a good point. I think, major, especially in India. I mean, if you're designing for US, again, different market, different this one. But in India, you know, iPhone is not like the common thing, right? So
Yeah.
when you start designing for a bigger screen, then you're not sure how it would look for majority of people with, let's say, a smaller device.
Right.
They might end up missing the major information that you thought would be seen on the first screen. But for majority of users, it's on the second scroll or third
Second
scroll,
scroll, third
maybe.
scroll, right? Absolutely, you're right. In fact,
So design for like a mid screen,
mhm,
and
mhm.
that will scale well for a bigger screen and a smaller screen.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Yeah, yeah, excellent. So that was a very useful tip for us, actually, which in fact, as I'm telling you, right, this internship program, what we're conducting. So we have kind of in the second batch we are in now, we have kind of completed the UX research we completed, and we did the usability evaluation part of it last week, where we did the heuristic evaluation. So that's the assignment what they have. So they're supposed to find some issues. In fact, we started IRCTC that point in time. Still, there are issues in IRCTC which we can still discover it. So that's what we are doing. Yeah, we'll be moving on to information architecture, interaction design, and the UI design also we are covering kind of, but not in depth, because only 8 weeks only we can cover the all those basics. But if they are interested further, means maybe they can pursue one more course separately and learn about it, and if they want to get into that, right? So that's what I've been suggesting. And
Great.
now that you have covered your journey and you shared your knowledge on product designer role, you can also share about actually, see, a person who settled in a job and enjoying life, fine. On top of that, you wanted to do a startup idea, which you worked on it and you launched also. What did you share your thoughts on it and what exactly you launched? What is the product about?
Okay, so product is called Airwalker. I can put a link to it on Product Hunt.
Please.
So yeah, essentially the purpose of building this app, so it wasn't built alone by me, it was built me and two other people.
Mhm.
The purpose was, we noticed that like traveling to airport for a lot of people is an anxiety inducing process, right? Especially if you're a first time traveler, you're not sure where to go, or you're not sure what all is available at the airport, where to spend time. Let's say if you have like a 5 hour layover, and is your flight late, etc. So we were just trying to build a simple web app, to kind of solve this problem. So yeah, so that was the product. It's called Airwalker. I'll post a
So
link.
what was your role in it, Jishnu?
So I primarily helped ideating it and designing it. So the two other people I worked with on that were like developers. One was a front end and one was a back end. So this was ideated and designed and developed and launched in like a span of 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Wow.
So
Mm.
so this was thing. So yeah, it does the bare minimum right now. We are planning to make improvements slowly.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's about this product.
In fact, a couple of our members also had a look at it and they found it really interesting. In fact, uh, that's
Yeah,
good. But
so
go ahead.
yeah, go on, go on.
So, how did this see? One is that you're busy with your UX work all the time, and suddenly you think actually, okay, let me start. One idea came up. Means how do you team up and how did you start working in that kind of this thing? So, you did any
Okay.
startup course, something you joined, something
Yeah,
collaboration?
so basically, there was, I don't know if you guys have heard of this program called Build by Skip the Line. So
Okay.
around 2 months ago, I came across them, and what they do is they kind of bring, let's say, people who want to build a product. It'll be a mix of, PMs, developers, designers, and they kind of bring them together onto, one platform. And there you kind of make up teams, with people that you like, and you ideate over there. And then
Hmm.
you kind of, figure out how to go about it. And you have like a kind of like a deadline of 1 week, 2 week-ish,
Wow.
and
Okay.
you're supposed to launch a product. So that was kind of a push we had.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's where I found these other two people equally passionate about building.
Ah,
And
nice, nice.
yeah, and now we become like
Uh-huh.
very good company, and we
Where
have
are they
plans
from
of.
now?
So one is in Mumbai, other person is in Silguri,
Okay.
northeastern of India.
Ah.
So we have plans of like maybe we'll meet once in a quarter and just ideate and launch a product in a week and go back.
Excellent, excellent. In fact, I did talk to you about briefly about that, right? So, in fact, in this digital experience lifestyle hub, we plan to launch one of the courses which is called as Lean UX, where helping people to ideate from ideation to validation. We'll be able to take using
Hmm.
Lean UX Canvas. So that program we are trying to bring in. But your idea of this one, what you have gone through, I will take a look at it and then see whether we can bring that also, so that here also we can create that kind of a team together and coming where they can bring in ideas and they can create something and then launch also, which we will separately we will discuss. That's how we want to evolve this
Mhm.
community into a place where the idea happens and business happens and you grow and share knowledge, collaborate. So maybe tomorrow you may have a opening in your company or some other company. So there are a lot of talents are here, so who can apply, and then since them to an extent, you can recommend them and and benefit each other. So that's
Yeah,
what one of the things we have as a goal for this community. So I think I've covered
great.
most of it. What I want to ask, maybe I'll open the floors for the members to ask you questions. Maybe they may have more questions.
I'm happy to
But
take.
thank you so much for your time. Actually, so this is really really wonderful. We are glad to see one of our own members actually being there. Moved from totally a different field where you started your education to becoming a product designer. And what is your next goals? Actually, what can we expect as where you are heading towards? I'm sure you have some specific goals also, Jishnu.
I mean, I do have a lot of personal goals, like fitness wise and all that.
That's important, in fact, So when I talk to the community, I said you have to have write goals, write 2 pages of goals, 10 page each. Any goal, anything can be there. Not
Yeah.
necessarily just stick to only the career goal alone. Have
Yeah,
all 5, 6
exactly.
different goals,
I
right?
think there should be a balance. And I think career-wise, I've been a lot more focused on, creating design systems and processes, how to work efficiently.
Right.
Let's say if you have a large team, like, how to ensure that everyone works in unison and create systems, etc. That's something I've been focusing on. So yeah.
But if you have any such topic you want to share sometime, so this is going to be a platform for people to share the new ideas or new concepts, to test it, and then so that people can bounce ideas, and you can get clarity also. There could be some issues, so we can also improvise from that. So you are welcome to let us know. We will keep one of those Wednesdays to share your processes and other ways which you want to share as well, Jishnu. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. Once again, thank you so much. And now, folks, you guys are ready to have ready with your questions. Anything you want to ask Jishnu? You can unmute yourself and then speak, guys.
I think they're all very
So
similar.
I just had a question related to the app that you have developed recently, like created, designed as in. So do we have such app in the, because I've heard this for the very first time. And I think Nanda sir mentioned this in his last lecture about this app. And I wondered if there was anything like this on the Play Store or the App Store available.
There are few. I mean, I think there's one good app. I think other apps are really bad. I think
Oh.
up in the air or something, but I think they only give you flight tracking and alerting. So what we are trying to do is also kind of give uh, let's say, how can you basically spend time at an airport
Yeah, that's
more
really useful,
effectively.
No, that's really useful.
So I mean, there's a lot of
Mm.
what do you say, issues with access to data, and also we are still trying to solve those because airports don't really share their data. So interestingly, we are actually using ChatGPT to fetch what all shops are there at the airport and
Wow.
bring it in. And for some reason, ChatGPT doesn't give more than 10 shops at the airport. So we need to figure some way around, like how to get the entire itinerary of all the shops. So yeah, a lot of hurdles when it comes to airport, which we start to realize, right, once we started creating it.
Yeah, that's great. I'll try this actually, whatever it can help for.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
That's it from my side.
Yeah. Keshav, you got questions?
Not quite.
So, he started. You are kind of in a similar boat as what Jishnu is in. You're studying computer science. What did you study in Jishnu? You said,
I did civil engineering. I
Civil
think computer
engineering.
science would be a lot more helpful. I wish I had taken computer science.